Hey guys, back again with Naval Battlezone at Caliber. I'm going to continue on this little teaching experience. And today we're going to talk about engines, how to make engines work, how to make guns work, how to make turrets work, and I'll also show how to make them look fancy towards the end. So we're going to start off with the simplest form of engine. It's called a diesel engine. And how a diesel engine works is you get a certain amount of horsepower per block. And all you have to do is have your shaft, the thing that, the prop shaft that turns the propeller, makes the ship go. That needs to be on the outside of the ship. All you need is that. And a air intake. So this is what an air intake looks like. This block takes in the air. This block shoves it into the engine. These are generally used for small ships, like ships that can't fit something like that. And the entire purpose of this engine is to provide a small ship with good power or a larger ship with better range. These things have a lot better range. They don't guzzle as much fuel. They're fairly useful in the topic of long-range ships. And all you have to do to build them is you get your primary engine block. This is the engine block. It's a lapis lazuli block. You place it down. You get a steam shaft, which is comprised of a diamond ore block and a air intake and exhaust. This has to be above the water line of the ship. It has to be above water, and it also has to be outside. It can't be inside the ship. And that's how you make that work. Now with there's two types of major engine at least. This is the diesel engine. And then you have something called a steam engine. And with a steam engine you need a boiler. There are different ways to pipe magma and pipe these things because you need one magma. To make these work you have to have one magma, and it has to be surrounded by obsidian. It has to be completely surrounded other than top. Because how these things work is they got to pipe any excess air out. It needs to have a vent out. And I'll show you that later. I'll show you exactly like that kind of thing later on a simple one. And so it needs to have access so this block can get air. There is one caveat though. It can't get air from under it, so it has to get over. So there has to be available air over. You can have your air travel diagonally. Like, let me use glass to show this. You can have air traveling diagonally, like this. You can have it traveling straight up, and you can even have it traveling vertically. You cannot have it go down. It will not work if you have to pipe it down. And it needs to be attached to another one of these air/steam shafts. So you can do it as long as it touches magma or is above the magma. So you can have this layout. You can lay it out like this. You could even lay it out like this. As long as the magma has some access to the steam shaft. And you need this steam shaft so they can connect up to the steam engine. The steam engines work a little differently than diesels. You don't need an upwards intake. You don't need that. You just need to connect it to the boiler. And these things produce significantly more power. And same thing with a prop shaft. It's always going to be the same for the prop shaft. Even with like subs with motors with the more complex stuff, you need this. And essentially, all you need to do is place down engine blocks. There is a caveat to how steam engines work, though. The optimal ratio used by a lot of people on the server is 20:1. I say anything between 17 to 20 is good. I preferably use 19. That's my favorite ratio, so 19.5. You got multiple of these engines on these ships, and they need to be signed correctly. So the boiler needs to have a boiler sign 1. This cannot touch, like if I had a engine right here, this cannot touch. It will count this as the same thing and it won't work. I need to have a steam engine sign on the steam engine and 1. So the 1 counts which one it is, that you have multiple, so you label each one 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how it goes. Your ships also need to produce power. With diesels, you don't have that issue. So these diesels, you do the same thing, diesel engine 1. You don't need a generator with these things. It's good to have them. They produce energy. You don't need them. The engines themselves produce energy. The steam engines don't. So what you need to do with a steam engine is you need to hook this up, specifically to the boiler, to that. So let's say you have this connection, a very simple one. And you put this signed steam gen and whatever number of steam gen this is, 1. And that's how you produce power on the ship. So your ships need to usually have batteries on them to store power. And that's as simple as it gets. This engine is not that hard to make. The hard part about it is getting it piped correctly. This part's not hard, this piping right here. Getting this access to air is what's generally harder. So I'm going to show you an example of it on this little test ship I built up. So over here you can see this, and this leads directly down to the diesel. I put a diesel engine on this thing and 2 steam engines. So this leads directly down to the diesel. It's an entire line. And let's get down there. I need to know where the stairs are. They're down here. This isn't a very fancy ship. I just built this up real quick to show you guys. And you see you have your diesel 1. You don't need to put diesel engine. You just need to put diesel. And you have this thing. And it's really quite simple. I'm actually going to go check myself that I labeled that correctly. So I'm not mistakeless. I know what I'm doing usually, but I don't know. Sometimes I make mistakes, so it's good to check. And what better place to check than this little warehouse down here? It tells you all you need to know. So if you ever come on the server and you need to know how to build something and no one's helping you, you can always come down here. So I'm going to travel over to the engine section, check how the engine sign for diesel is. So that's yeah, it's just diesel 1. You don't need diesel engine on it. It's just diesel 1. It's always good to make sure. If you want to get to your plot really quickly, just plot TP. So that's the simplest way to do an engine, is that diesel. There's also these steam. So like I said, the boiler needs access to air to guzzle it up. And here's how you get it. So you notice there's always one block of width. So let's say I had a 2 magma. Because you can make these boilers bigger. You can make boilers a lot bigger. Well, let's say I wanted to have a boiler that produces more horsepower. I don't want to have 2 boilers on the ship. I just want a bigger boiler. 2. Now that would mean I have to fit 2 blocks of air down the entire thing. So let's get some glass. So if I did something like... let's say I did something like this, it would not work. Because there's only one shaft of air here. While it would work, it would be something called overpressurized. And it's going to guzzle more fuel, you're going to lose PSI, which is what keeps the engines going. And it's just overall not going to be that well. So if I want to make this work, because things can travel diagonally. Not do something like this. I give it a little extra space as well, because it's good to have like a little extra. Might take up a little more space, but yeah. So yeah, this will work. This right here will work. It has 2, 2, 2, 2. Yeah. You can do you could do it another way too. You could also do. So let's say I want that. I can do it like that. And then switch it up. Come over here. Because again, these travel diagonally. And do something like that. And just have it go straight up from there. That will work. Doesn't look so fancy, but it will work. So, that's the basics of engines. I'll go show you them inside that ship. Little, I called it a dummy ship, but what it really is, it's a ship to show you how ships work. And after that, I'll show you how to build guns. These things. These things confuse a lot of people, so it's good if I tell you how to do them. There is a way in back, but I usually like this way. So you come down here. You have your steam gen. Again, piped through both of these boilers. I can even make it bigger if I wanted to. And you have your steam engines. These things right here. And you'll notice this right here. This is the shaft. So what I did is I piped it under. As long as it's touching this engine block, it's fine. And something to be a little helpful. I'll try to keep this ship spawned in as much as I can for anyone who comes in that's new. But you have the shaft coming through here. I put glass here so you can see, oh, it keeps going. This shaft specifically, I think, ends in the next room over. So if I came over here, come down here, yeah, ends right here. And that's facing the wrong, oh no, it's not. It gets wider for a second and then goes down. And you can even see where it ends if you come up. It ends up here. And you might be wondering, hey, this is a different block than this. Well, this is a drive shaft. It also works like this block. Like the big old bone block, this thing. And you need a propeller. So this counts as a propeller. And this block also counts as a propeller, the gold block. And that's all you need to work as a propeller. You don't even need like the fins on the large one, but people love putting fins on it. I do too. So next we're going to show you how to make guns. So now we get the guns. Guns are pretty helpful. You can get big guns and small guns, and they all come in different sizes. That's number one. So let's say you want to make a 3-inch gun. I get these sizes, and I make. So this is a 3-inch breech. I grab one of those, I place that down, and then I make the barrel 3 long. And that's how it works for almost every size. So if I want a 6-inch gun, or let's say I want a 7-inch gun. Let's say I want a 7-inch gun because that works as a better example. I get this breech, and I make this barrel. Notice how it's 6 to 9. Make it 7 long. This right here is a 7-inch gun. There's 2 different ways to mount guns. And that's pretty simple. You have this open mount right here. These are really simple to make. You just put the gun on something. You don't care if it turns. And if you don't care if it turns, so then you don't really need to add anything. This is done. This is a 3-inch gun. Let's say I want something like a turret, though. Like something that turns. It has to be square. Now, saying that is a little misleading. the dimensions themselves have to be square. The turret itself doesn't have to be square at all. So, for example, I have this thing. And I want this gun to turn, but I also want this wall to turn with it. I'll put a sign right here that says Cannon 3. Because this is a 3-inch gun. Now this entire section will turn. And all this will turn. Notably, you need to have a quartz block under the cannon sign. If you don't have this block, it's not going to work. Sometimes it does, but that's just glitchy. And that's how you make these work. They have to be square in dimension. They have to be. So you get 3x3, 5x5, 7x7, all that kind of stuff. Now I'm going to go into the little complexities of larger guns, because larger guns can act a little different. Not when it comes to their turrets, but when it comes to the barrels. So you get a breech. You get, let's say I need a 10-inch breech, right? I need 10, yeah. So, usually how you'd make a 10, according to like all your previous knowledge, is you'd make this barrel 10 long. Well, there's a little trick you can do with heavy guns. You can put a breech here. This is called double breeching. It shortens the barrel length by 1, and you increase your barrel breech length by 1, and you also still have a 10-inch gun. So this and this are both 10-inch guns. If I remember correctly, you have to double breech. I could be wrong though. I'm not always correct. You come up with this. So if I wanted a 15-inch gun, I actually make this barrel 16, as I have 2 breeches. And then it gets a little more funky, because you can use barrel collars on anything from 16. I don't remember the exact length you need to do it. That's why we can use the helpful little thing that we were at earlier. If you go to Atlantis, this is called the archives. Come over here. Let's say I want to make a 16-inch gun. I come over here. It shows me how to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 5 of my breech. Five of my barrel would have to be this barrel outer. There. And that's a 16-inch gun. Always count from the breech for these. And I did the math. There's a 16-inch gun. The turrets still have to be square. That's something that's consistent with everything. So now I'm going to show you how to do things a little decoratively. Because decorative stuff is fun. It looks nice. It's better looking. So turbines, how they look in the real world, is you have an inner casing and you have an outer casing. You have an inner blade set and an outer casing. So this is a steam engine. There's 2 different types of steam engines. We have something called the triple expansion engine, and we also have a turbine. Now, let's say I want to make a turbine. Turbines are a bit funky, because you have something called a geared steam turbine. So let's say I want to make a geared steam turbine like that. And then because that's how my gears are lined up. Let's just say that's how my gears are lined up, right? You come up with this. You need an outer casing. So I get some stairs. I like using diorite, which is this white substance. So let's change up a a little bit. Let's say this has 2-geared to twin-geared turbine, let's say. So I'm going to put a casing over it. These are usually closer together, so what I'll do is close them together. Put slabs on the top. Or you can do carpet. So let's say you want to make it a little more like gradual. You can do carpet, you can do a lot of stuff. So let's say I just want it to be like that. And I'm going to have 2 fairly wide turbines here, so I might skinny them both up just so they look better. Flip that over that side. And you don't have to do turbines like this, don't worry. You don't have to make them look all funky looking. Like this. This is pretty funky looking. So yeah, to do the aesthetic thing, there's a lot of different ways. I build turbines as if they had one big long shaft, which usually isn't pretty accurate, but yeah, so you have that. These are pretty weak turbines, but turbines built like this, pretty weak. Sorry if I go mumbling. It's kind of hard to describe how to build something nicer when it comes to these things. It's trial and error. You learn as time goes on. So yeah, let's just say this is your steam turbine. You can do the way I like to do it personally is I put them on a pedestal. So let's say we're using 2 Magnum to build this thing. So we'd need 40 blocks because we're just doing an optimal size. So we need 40 blocks. I'll just really quickly rig up a boiler. It's not very complex, and then we'll work on a boiler afterwards. We'll also show you how to make a better boiler, which that's actually a lot easier than making a turbine. So I'll just do it like that. So I need 40 blocks. So what I'm gonna do, I want this to be 2 rotors instead of 1. But I want to make a straight line one. So let's count how many blocks are here. So we have 40. This is exactly 40 right here. I want to put this up on a pedestal kind of, so I'll use stairs. Depending on how big your ship is, you might want to use a different set of stairs. Like, you can either go heavier or lighter with the stairs. Certain blocks have different weight values. We'll do armor later. Armor schemes, too. Because there's different ways to do armor schemes. There's a lot of different ways to do armor schemes on the server. And a lot of the time, I don't think people realize how important they can be. Accurate armor schemes do work in this server, as long as you put the time and effort to them. There's a lot of different ways you can do stuff like that. But let's say I just want to make a very simple turbine right here. Not very hard. I gave it a little pedestal. this would work right here. Just a little flat kind of turbine. Nothing super serious about it. Yeah. Something like that. I preferably wouldn't use these blocks, I'd use slabs. But that also does expose the little engine area right here. I still need to put the sign on it, right? So there's little tricky ways to do this. One of my favorites is this. You add a porthole on the side. Trap door. This specific trap door opens a specific way. So I'm trying to place it how I want to. And then add a sign. And you have your steam engine. It has no drive shaft, but I mean drive shafts are fun. They're not sometimes they're not really hard to make as long as they're still connected to each other. They work. Now with a boiler, you can do a couple cool things. So there's different shapes of boiler. I'm going to show kind of what I think they're called Wagners, but let's say it's kind of stylized in a U.S. Navy style. So slabs, and use two different colors here. And get everything I need. So they kind of have this specific form to them. So, sorry, I'm trying to get all that correct stuff. So you have that. This is a really basic boiler. It's not very hard to make. So you have stuff like that, or you can do it like, say I want to do it a little different. I want to have a kind of pipe look up here, and I do that. And I turn this into stairs. There's a lot of different ways to do these boilers. This is just a really simple setup too. A lot of times you'll see like people put a little thing hanging up here. You can do that. I would personally use a block that contrasts itself with everything else, so you get that. And then you can use barrels, like these kind of barrels, the gun barrels, as accenting. So let's say I want to have that held up. I do that. And I just add the sign right here. Boiler 1. There's another block you can use around the obsidian too. It's called a boiler window. And you can place that here and it counts as one of the obsidian. You have to make these things out of obsidian. Didn't mention that earlier, meant to. You have to make them out of that specific block. But you can also have this. That's a basic little steam engine. I'm better with making diesels. Well, a lot of people would say otherwise, but I don't know. I don't believe them. Anyway. So, with a diesel, you have to think kind of like, think of naval engine. Think of like a car engine, kind of. It's going to be a little taller than that, probably. Now, I'm just using the basic blocks right now. It's just how it is. So, I want to make this thing look kind of like a modern engine, right? So I use trapdoors. can even use this block right here, which is a different block, or we're going to go over it later. And so I want to split this thing up. I want to make this thing look nice. So what I do, bring this block down. So let's say, yeah. I bring this here. There's a lot of different ways you can do these engines. I'm not the definitive guru on engines, so don't worry about that. If you don't like how I make my engines, you can make yours different. And here I'm going to get into the different blocks you can actually use for engines. And little tricks. So I want to use wrong sign. So there's different signs, by the way. So if you need a certain like color sign, there's probably there. So this is just a really basic kind of thing. Well, let's say I don't think this looks right. I think it needs something more. I think it's missing something. Well, it might be. Most engines have valves. So there's several different blocks you can make work for engines. You don't just have to use the lapis block. So anything that counts as an engine block, this is all, right here is the list of all the blocks, just here. So you got lapis, black glazed terracotta, stone cutter, and I think this is a, oh wait, I grabbed the same thing. And a grindstone, that's what it was. So these blocks are all engine blocks. You can use any of these and they will count for your horsepower. So I want to make my engine have these valves. Let's throw them on there. And then I put a separator right there. I can put a sign right here, kind of like an end cap for the valves. There's a lot you can do. And there you go. That's like a basic diesel engine. These are even easier to fit a sign on. So I could just like throw the sign like back here. Diesel 1. So now I'm going to teach you possibly the more complex part of this. We've been recording for like a while now, 37 minutes. But this is, I'm trying to go as in depth as I can. I know I miss some things and I bumble over my words, but I hope this helps. Some of this is going to get removed too, so. So let's say I want to make a Fletcher's turret, you know. The turret you see on one of the most famous destroyers of World War II. So I'll start here. And I can do a little something if I want to make... I'm just going to do this for now. Let's say I just want to make a little Fletcher turret. So, one of the most weird things, not weird, but I'll make it out of this blue stuff, because I can all just use a consistent color. So I want to make this thing do what the actual turret does and kind of expand back outwards, right? And this is not a great example. People have built a lot better electric turrets on this server, but we're just going with it. I want to make this thing go back like this. So you're going to say this is not a square. There's a really simple way to make it a square. String. String is nearly invisible, and I can place it on either side. So I go here, blammo. I can make the turret skinnier. There's a lot of different options you can do to make these turrets work. So let's say I wanted this thing. I just wanted it like this. The thing I have to remember is that the sign has to be here. So I get a barrel. I'm gonna make this a 5-inch gun. I'm gonna add a trap door over it just to look a little better. This is a 3x3 turret. Actually, this is a 4x3 turret right now, but right here. I'll do something like that. Yeah. And you come up here. So I put the barrel. Put the breech right here. Give it a 5. Just connected to that. Yeah, here you got a 5. I just put the sign right here. And 5. And there you got a working turret. Let's say I want to make it like look a little different. I want to make it longer for some reason. I'm going to do something like this. You know, what if I want to do that? Well, you should keep the turret odd, so I can place the string right here, and the string right here, and a string right here, and this will work. This will work completely. It looks a little stupid, but it will work. And that is the basics of turrets. There's not much you can go wrong with here. You need that. You just need to make it square, which you can do with string. And make it funky. So, that's it for today. I hope you guys liked this recording. I'm going to do an armor one later. And that armor one, that's a little more complex, I guess. Yeah, it's probably going to be a lot shorter than this video. But, yeah. I'll see you guys next time.